Guys, this is a steak tasting here tonight. I am car camping in North Carolina and I am trying 3 cuts of steak, and one of them I have never even heard of before. And there's a big old pot, actually a skillet of potatoes over here too. So we're talking about steak and potatoes, car camping here tonight. Let's get cooking. Oh yeah, come on, that's what I want there, folks. So we're not cooking a ribeye, we're not cooking a filet, and we're not cooking a New York. It is fresh. It is acidic. Oh man, I'm looking at the steak over here, getting really excited. Hey yo, Chef Corso, Outdoor Eats. I'm here to put you on the path to amazing meals on your outdoor treks. And Outdoor Eats isn't just for hiking and backpacking. We have a lot of great recipes that can help you on your hiking and backpacking trips, but also I know a lot of you guys out there go car camping or live in a van or live in an RV. And sometimes you are base camp cooking and enjoying just where you are. And speaking of where I am at a farm in somewhere outside of Brevard, North Carolina. Look at this place. Really nice. Found a great campsite here to set up the van. And we are talking about steak and potatoes here tonight, but not just standard steak and potatoes. We're gonna talk about a couple different cuts that you may not be familiar with, and also ways to elevate the standard russet potato with some skillet potatoes that I've really enjoyed on my journeys. And it just takes a couple ingredients in just a few minutes. Quick shout out too to Van Do It. Van Do It, this is their van, and they are absolutely sponsoring my vagabond life, and I really appreciate them. And we are really enjoying living the van life on this farm right now. So thanks to Van Do It, because it's super cool van. One thing that I love doing when I am traveling around the country is finding new local artisan shops, whether that's cheeses or bakeries or butcher shops. And the butcher shop is becoming a little bit more of a rarity these days. And I found a great spot. It is the Chop Shop Butchery in Asheville, North Carolina. It's about an hour away from Brevard, and really great butcher shop. They've got some great cuts. They've got some great sausages, salamis, and some other really great things. Super knowledgeable staff, really helpful, and I think I picked up some really good stuff for my steak and potato dinner here tonight. And I am really excited about showing you guys these 3 different cuts of meat. And one thing that we are not cooking here tonight is we're not cooking a ribeye, we're not cooking a filet, and we're not cooking a New York. If you pick those up, and if you cook those for me or I cook those for you, I will happily eat those. They are absolutely delicious, and ribeye is one of my favorites. I actually like the offcuts a little bit more. They tend to have a little bit more flavor. They can be a little bit cheaper than especially a filet and some of those fancier cuts. And it's an opportunity to really taste the different parts of the cow and little different parts of the beef. And sometimes they have a little bit more fat in there and cook up just a little bit differently than the standard cuts. So I am really excited to show you what cuts we have to explore here tonight, and one I have never even heard of and never tried. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the 3 steaks that I picked up at the butcher shop. So what I have here is a nice hanger steak, and then here is a Denver cut, and I actually don't quite remember where this is coming from on the cow, but it is down here. Did some research after filming. And then this is the one that I've never had before. This is the oyster cut, or the oyster steak. And if you guys are familiar with the little oyster on a chicken, there's 2 little oysters, there's apparently also an oyster on a cow. And we are gonna be able to test that out here tonight. But all of them look really good, some beautiful fat and beautiful color, and hopefully some really great flavor. First things first, for our steak, we are going to season it up. And what I have packed here tonight is a nice steak seasoning. And this has a little bit of smoked paprika, a little bit of bay, a little bit of salt, and it's gonna be really good on our steaks. So give that a nice liberal seasoning. Nice, that is looking really good. Pat that seasoning in there. Wow. Seriously, I've never had an oyster steak before. That is awesome. But each one of these looks very different in their muscle, in their fiber, in the grain, and I'm really curious on how they taste and how they eat. So for setting up my whole station here, I do have a 2-burner stove here, and I'm just using 1 burner. What's great about this dinner here tonight is it's all gonna cook in this skillet, so it is gonna help save on dishes. So what we're gonna do is cook up the steak first, get that all nice and seared, let that rest, and then we're gonna talk about how to elevate potatoes, besides just baked, besides just mashed, besides just smashed, into a skillet potato dish with poblanos and onions that's gonna go really, really well with our steak. And we want this skillet to get nice and hot. You know, we're just chilling at the farm here, so don't have anywhere to go, so you don't need to rush this. So make sure your pan is nice and hot and ready for that sear, because that's gonna be able to give us the flavor and the texture that we're really, really looking for. Skillet is hot, time to put the steak in the pan. Yes, that is the sound that I wanna hear. So the interesting thing about the 3 cuts that I have here is that they are very different thicknesses. So this oyster is gonna cook pretty darn quick, while the hanger and the Denver is gonna take a little bit more time. So something to really monitor if you are doing a steak tasting is they're not probably all gonna cook at the same time. So just make sure to check that out and monitor your thickness, rotating them as needed or flipping them as needed. Man, this is already smelling amazing. And if you aren't smelling meat, it means that your temperature is not hot enough. So we are sizzling really, really nicely here. I'm doing my best not to poke at this. I'm very, very excited about this steak here tonight. I really just want to let this be steak in the skillet. And it's smelling really good. Oh yes. That looks great. Let's get this oyster flipping. Wonderful. Let's check our hanger. Hanger needs a little bit more time in the back. That's completely all right. And you might be wondering, hey Corso, are you eating all this steak tonight? Like, I probably could, because it's gonna be really, really good, but I have a great friend with me joining me on this camping adventure. Summer, behind the camera. We're having a great weekend eating steak and potatoes and jumping in waterfalls. So, pretty nice time. So, thank you, Summer. These are coming along really nicely. I do have some experience cooking some hanger in the past, and that's gonna take a few minutes. I'm just a little lightly concerned about the thickness of this oyster, and I really, really don't want to overcook it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off right now. And for me, I really enjoy steak about medium rare. So if you like it a little bit more done, that's completely all right. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, look at that other side. That looks awesome. And we're gonna need to let that rest. These 2 cuts need a little bit more time in the skillet, so I think I'm gonna start prepping my veggies for my skillet potatoes. And what I love about this skillet potato dish is it is 2 potatoes, 1 onion, and 2 or 3 poblano peppers. You could also use some Anaheim chilies as well. If you wanna go a little bit spicier, you can go some jalapenos or some serranos, but I just like having just a few different ingredients here, and you can definitely use some Yukon Golds or some other red potatoes or white potatoes, but I'm just going to use a couple russet here potatoes here tonight. I'm just going to give these a rough chop. And actually, I'm going to start with my onions and my peppers because I want to get those in the skillet first. Steak is looking really, really good, and it's really, really important that you let this rest. You know, even for me, I get really excited about eating steak, and I want to eat it like right now. So what I often do is I'll set a timer for like 10 to 15 minutes, cover it with some foil, and not touch the steak until that timer goes off. And it's really, really important because this has just been through a marathon. It's been in this hot skillet, and those flavors, and actually not the flavors, the juices need to chill. They need to relax, because if you cut into it right now, it's gonna bleed everywhere. Not what you want. So I cut up my onion, and I have my skillet here with our awesome steak drippings in there, and I want to not waste those. Got my 2 poblanos. I only needed 2 here tonight. Save the other one for breakfast or something. And all we're looking for is these to caramelize up. And if we need to add a little bit more oil, you know, butter or fat, you can definitely do that. But I love having the meat flavor on these veggies. Great. I just cut these up into some small pieces. Nothing super fancy here. I mean, these potatoes are pretty big. I don't know if I'm gonna need both of them. Does that make sense? No, I don't think that makes any sense. I don't think I need both of them tonight. So, well, again, we'll save maybe one for breakfast hash tomorrow morning. I do love potatoes. Potatoes are one of my favorite foods, and I will happily take a steak and baked potato with all the fixins. It's kind of nice to have something a little bit different. And especially when you're camping, to be able to use the cast iron skillet is a really, really nice thing. And if you don't have a campfire, you know, making a baked potato or a potato packet can be a little bit hard. So having options to cook up some really tasty potatoes in your skillet is really, really nice. And these are caramelizing up really, really nicely. And you know, if you don't like spicy peppers, that's okay. Don't put them in there. Maybe do some onions or some shallot. Give a couple different onions in there to have a little fun with it. That is smelling amazing. Caramelized onions, super, super good. So this needs a little bit of seasoning. So I'm gonna throw the last of my steak seasoning, just not that much. And then I've got some extra salt hanging out in the grass here. Throw that in there. Turn my heat up a little bit. Oh man, I'm looking at the steak over here, getting really, really excited. Peppers and onions are looking great. It's time to throw our potatoes in there. Wow, I hope Summer's hungry because this is gonna be a lot of food. One of the great things about having a van is having a refrigerator. So if it turns out that we don't want to eat this whole skillet of potatoes for some reason, that's going to be a pretty weird reason, is we can just easily save it for the next day or, you know, a couple more days into our road trip. Potatoes, onions, and peppers are in the skillet, and I need some water. So I'm going to go get some. Yes. Water the garden while I'm doing it. Nice. Awesome. It's not all the time that I have water on a yard hose for my water source when I'm cooking. It's pretty great. Just gonna give that a nice stir so nothing's sticking to the bottom. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of a hat on it and come on back when those potatoes are done. One thing to note too, as this skillet has been on the burner for a lot, it gets really, really hot. So if you don't have an oven mitt, you can definitely use a bandana or a buff that you might be using when you're hiking as something to protect your hands. So it's what I use a lot too when I'm cooking at camp or cooking on the trail. All right, guys, this is something super, super special in a way that I really, really like to have my steak. There's times where I want some beef gravy or some caramelized mushrooms and onions, but this is a chimichurri. And if you've never had a chimichurri, it is a sauce, can be from Europe, it can be from South America, and it's basically a parsley sauce. So come on in and take a look at this. So what I have in here, and I did a pre-prep before we left to put it in the cooler. So this is a whole bunch of chopped parsley, some capers, a little bit of chili flake, some vinegar or lemon juice, salt and pepper, and some oil. And this is going to complement our rich, beefy flavors really, really nicely. And it's a way that I love, love having steak. I made this morning and I haven't really tasted it, so let's do that. Oh, man, so good. And what's going in my head right now is it is fresh, it is acidic, it is full. Oh, one other thing in here is some garlic too. Such a different flavor component and combination of things than just your standard red wine sauce or gravy. And if you want the recipe for this, just check it out right here. Potatoes have been cooking for just a few minutes. Just gonna give it a stir, see how we're doing. I'm cooking about halfway here, which is awesome. I'm actually gonna leave the lid off now because I want some of that moisture to evaporate, but we'll come back and check on this in a few minutes. These have been cooking for a few minutes now, and as you can see, our water and moisture has mostly evaporated. And what I'm looking for is to get a little bit of crispiness and start to really scrape the bottom, because that's going to be some of great flavor. And these potatoes are going to be really great now, but I want them a little bit crispy. Get those yummy bits from the skillet. As you can see, our steak is back, and it's not quite time to eat it yet because our potatoes aren't done yet. So really kind of nice thing about cooking these two things is that it kind of forces you to wait for the steak, cooking the potatoes, making sure they're done in order to cut into the steak. But I really want to cut into the steak. And as I'm scraping this, I know some of you out there are thinking, oh no, that is going to be a really, really dirty dish to clean. Don't worry, if you want to stay through the steak tasting, you want to stay through the potato eating, I'll show you how to clean this with a nice quick tip. Skillet potatoes are all done. I'm going to turn off the burner. It'll continue to cook for a little bit. You can keep scraping on the bottom there. Those are looking really, really good. So let's take a look at our steak. It is time to cut into the steak and try our trio of meats here today. So reminder, we have the Denver, we have the hanger, and we have the oyster. So let's see what we've got here. Oh, wow. So we're looking, this one's looking a little bit rare, but good thing Summer likes it rare, and I'm completely fine with that. But that is looking like some really, really beautiful steak. So that Denver is over here. Should I go the oyster now? No, let's go for the hanger. This one has a really nice grain, so it's really easy to cut across it. Oh, wow, look at that. Nice, that one's looking a little bit more medium rare. Kind of a wider composition and structure, sort of interesting. All right, let's look at this oyster. Awesome. Yeah, and I was right, it was so thin, it cooked really, really quickly. Wow, those look beautiful. Beautiful local steaks. Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Moment of truth. I'm really not worried about this. I know it's going to taste really good. So let's start with the hanger. I've had this before. Yep, tastes like beef. A little bit beefier. I'd say very fair comparison is in the ribeye scale. As far as richness, I kind of talk with the steak in my mouth. A flavor. Ooh, really, really nice. We've got our Denver, which looks similar to the sirloin. Nice. A little bit more mild in flavor. Pretty consistent to like a London broil or one of your slicing steaks. Yeah. I like that one a lot too. All right, let's try this oyster. We've got a little bit more intermuscular fat. Wow, a little bit more fat in there. Get a little bit more beefy flavor. And this is just kind of fun because it's not very big. So this could be a really fun one to cook first, let it rest, and then have this be a little steak bite appetizer for your friends when you're cooking for them. Because these are going to take a little bit longer. Maybe that could be the star of the show. You're like, hey guys, I got oyster steak. What, Jim? You got oyster steak? That's just bonkers. Yeah, the oyster cut, the oyster steak. So now, let's try one of these, the little, oh yeah, come on, that's what I want there, folks. Yep, give me a minute. That's what you want, folks. Fresh, local steak from the butcher shop, chimichurri sauce, and some skillet potatoes. Let's check these out. Still sizzling, still hot. Very hot. Really, really good. You can really make this your own. You notice that I didn't add any garlic, any other crazy seasoning. You know, I had a little bit of that steak seasoning in there and a little bit of extra salt. But you could add some Old Bay seasoning, add some other Lowry salt, your favorite local seasoning mix. Oh yeah, get those bits on the bottom. But really, really good. And remember, this was like a potato and a half, an onion, and a couple poblano peppers, and it turned into this. So steak and potatoes here tonight, elevated with not doing a whole lot, but really focusing on some great different cuts and some really, really simple flavors that turn into something really, really great. So get out there, have a steak tasting, have a chicken tasting, have any other kind of tasting, but get out there, cook something tasty, and share it. That's what it's all about, folks. Boca boca. Hey, Summer, which one do you like the most?
The oyster.
Yeah?
It's just bursting with flavor.
Extra fat in there, and just where the protein is on the cow. This makes it really, really tasty. You liking the chimney?
Yes.
Nice. Good, I'm glad you like it. Are you ready for dinner?
Yeah.
That's a great way to start. One of the things that I really enjoy doing. Let's take a look at our 3 steaks that I picked up at the bush. But these two, I'm pinching it.